Although Ridley Scott gave us some details about why David destroyed the city on Paradise, Ridley never directly called the inhabitants of this planet engineers. Many people have assumed that they are engineers because at the end of Prometheus, Shaw instructed David to take her to the engineer homeworld to obtain the answers. But given that Shaw was put in cryosleep and David always has his own plans, he could go to a completely another planet. Based on that and other evidence from the movie and the Prologue promo, I think that those humanoid beings that David bombed are not engineers, and I have a theory how they are related to humans and the actual engineers that we've seen in Prometheus. Ridley also never said that they're not engineers, so he left it quite ambiguous for people to ponder and think. First of all, if they were engineers and David destroyed them, then who is in the space jockey seat that would be discovered 30 years later? If engineers and intergalactic species had other planets and one of them was destroyed, then in 10 years they would come back to check what happened and they would surely rip off David's head once again. Also, when David lands the Juggernaut, these beings are marveling and excited at the presence of the ship. If you look closely, you'll see a crowd flow out from some kind of a temple to a massive arena-like space directly underneath what appears to be a docking station for engineer ships. If this was the homeworld and these were normal engineers, why would they do that? If you listen to the sound, you'll hear that people are cheering the ship as if they were waiting for it for a very long time. They also look slightly different than engineers. They're equally bold for some reason, but their skin is not as pale. In addition, if they were engineers, they would probably have some countermeasures due to being experienced in the effects of the black goo, since it appears that they created the black goo in the first place. The inhabitants of the paradise don't have any means of protection, and when David attacked them, they just all ran, confused and unable to grasp what was happening and how they could survive it. Their city was noticeably rural and primitive even compared to the current urban architecture, not even considering that engineers are intergalactic and highly advanced species capable of creating life. All this evidence leads to the point that people that David destroyed are completely another race created by engineers. Possibly their planet is another branch of humanity seeded by the engineers, just like the Earth was. By their appearance, they are genetically closer to engineers than humans. These people on Paradise lived in a very primitive society and their civilization was at the early stage. That's why the only advanced technology that we see is a docking station for juggernauts. It's possible that engineers seeded with life many planets with the intent to experiment and see which one of civilizations would grow faster. Inhabitants of Paradise worshipped engineers and viewed them as their gods, pretty much like ancient civilizations on Earth. In most of the Earth mythologies, it's written that a long time ago gods lived among ordinary people and ruled them, and now it's pretty much the same thing with superheroes who are basically living gods. Gods are also portrayed like giants in ancient Egypt and other cultures, which is so similar to what we see in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Probably engineers left the planet 4 a very long time ago, just like they left Earth, and finally after 2000 years the Juggernaut arrives and these people celebrate the return of engineers. But unfortunately it's David and not their creators. It's also unclear if David knew that this planet is not the engineer homeworld. If he didn't, then later when the craft crashed, he likely realized his mistake and used the remains of the black goo he had to start his experiments. But I actually think that he knew that the planet was populated by other humanoid species and purposely destroyed it for another reason. Since David is obsessed with killing his creators and the creators of his creators, he thought that the black goo would not be strong enough as a weapon to wipe out the engineers. For this reason, he decided to make the entire planet his own laboratory and turn its humanoid inhabitants into lab rats, all with one goal: to develop xenomorphs, an ultimate weapon that would be capable of destroying engineers and their planet. It looks like his plan was successful, and at the end of Alien Covenant he has xenomorphs and the entire ship at his disposal. Actually, a few days ago, a screenwriter, Damon Lindelof, who worked with Ridley Scott, said in an interview that the planet that we see in Alien Covenant is not the engineer homeworld. It was not exactly what Damon and Ridley originally planned for it, and the planet ended up being a detour settlement for what can be the actual engineer homeworld in other Alien movies. There is also one inhabitant that steps out of the crowd when the Juggernaut arrives. He seems to be the ruler of this colony and can be potentially the true engineer that belongs to the same race that we've seen in Prometheus. Another interesting observation is that there are no females in the crowd on Paradise. Perhaps their species themselves are engineered. They may not be born or have an entirely different mode of reproduction that is dependent on engineers. Perhaps they need some version of the black goo to reproduce, and since engineers did not appear for 2000 years, their race was slowly dying off, to the point that there is only one city left on the entire planet, and its inhabitants celebrated the arrival of juggernauts because they thought that it would literally give them life. If it's true, then maybe when David learned the engineer ways, he also learned about this planet, and he thought that it would be better to destroy this kind of humanoid race and stop their slow and painful extinction. These are just theories, but I think that at this point it's pretty obvious that beings on Paradise or Planet 4 are not engineers that we've seen in Prometheus. That means that we'll probably encounter them in Alien Awakening or another Alien movie. Hopefully they'll be able to stop David, but I think that this poster possibly teases what would eventually happen to engineers, more precisely xenomorphs invading their homeworld. Thank you guys for watching, I really appreciate it. Hit the like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to my channel for more Alien content.